Live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening, come to you live from the National News Studio. Welcome to the news. My name is Clifford Richards.
And I'm Sharma Screeners. First, it's a look at the day's headlines.
118,000 affected in 12 districts due to incessant rains. Schools of Colombo, Gampaha and Kalania education zones will be closed tomorrow. Hirunika resigns from the post of the president of the Samagi Vanitha Balavege. Rupavahini News YouTube channel reaches the 10 million viewership. Migratory flamingos arrive before the familiar period. 300 rockets fired from Israel into Lebanon.
Now for those and other stories in detail, starting off with local news. President Anurukumara Dissanayake says that a government quantitative and as well as qualitative will be established after the general election.
Well, he makes these remarks addressing the candidates of the National People's Power of the general election at a meeting in Colombo today. Well, the objective of this event was to enlighten and discuss relevant issues relating to the general election. A group including Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya and other leaders of the party was also present on the occasion. The President has further stated that the people have placed high confidence on the National People's Power. President Anurukumara Dissanayake says that the North would place more confidence on them than they extended at the presidential election. He further says that they met a leading politician in the North and added that he had expressed willingness of his group to work with the government after the general election. The President further says that the people of the North remain ready to work with the government even if the northern politicians are not inclined to extend support. The President also says that they have proven of a peaceful conducting of an election without reporting of any post-election violence. President Anurukumara Dissanayake also says today that they have state power and they must show their commitment in conducting the most peaceful general election in the history of the country. He has reiterated the need of them to establish the fact that they belong to a political movement equipped with high qualities with the noble objectives. The President has elaborated on the extreme confidence placed by the people on their political movement, which has risen from the level of having only 3% of the votes. He also says that therefore they do not have the slightest excuse to breach this confidence and accountability as a political movement with strong bonds with the people. The President has also pointed out that a strong parliament means not only the representation of all groups but a parliament which has defeated the destructive mentality. It is the responsibility entrusted upon the NPP to clean the parliamentary process. The people are eagerly watching their action. The President has therefore requested contestants of the NPP at the upcoming election not to let the people breach the confidence of having a parliament of quality. All must take the responsibility of creating a parliament with a majority facing to execute an enormous task.
Leader of the Samagi Jana Balavege and Colombo district candidate Sajith Premadasa says that he will fulfill obligations towards the country even if there is a political drawback. He expressed these views at a meeting held in Homagama today. A large number, including the supporters of Samagi Jana Balavege, participated in this meeting. Leader of the Samagi Jana Balavege and Colombo district candidate Sajith Premadasa said that during our political journey, it is important to take and to do the maximum in fulfilling that obligation. He added that party supporters do not entertain traditional political enmity, jealousy, revenge, pressure or victimization, and our aim is to bring the country to the first place in the world. He pointed out that this can be achieved mainly by strengthening the economy of the country through an increased industrial system. He said that the lives of the population of the country has to be uplifted and sustainable answers to the problems of the country could be achieved only through this. He pointed out that this juncture of the economic crisis we have to fulfill the duty towards the country without failure, and this has been included in their program. He further said that only Samagi Jana Balavege has the dream of making the country victorious by organizing at village and city level in the forthcoming general election.
Hirunika Premachandra, who is in the list of candidates that's for the general election from the Samagi Jana Balavege in Colombo district, says she will resign as the president of the Samagi Vanitha Women's Organization. She revealed this in a media briefing called by her today. The Colombo district candidate in the general election of the Samagi Jana Balavege, Hirunika Premachandra, says that according to a close associate of the party, the defeat during the last presidential election was due to not organizing the party supporters on a grassroots level. She says that she organized the women's rallies and she worked for the party with a lot of dedication, where she could not attend to her own children as well. She pointed out that these supporters in the grassroots level always faced injustice. She also says that the SJB supporter was always in this situation, and it has been disappointing that the highlighting of the failure of the organizers is disturbing. She also added that she always worked for the party in politics with the leader.
Hezbollah has fired over 300 projectiles into Israel from Lebanon yesterday, escalating the Gaza conflict. Meanwhile, Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu has told the United Nations to remove its peacekeepers from Lebanon, warning they are in harm's way. The injury of 5 unfilled staff by Israeli fire has drawn international condemnation. 40 nations have strongly condemned the attacks on United Nations peacekeepers in Lebanon. Recently, 2 Indonesian peacekeepers were injured falling from an observation tower after Israeli tanks fired towards it. On Friday, the Israel Defense Forces acknowledged that its troops were responsible for an incident in which 2 Sri Lankan soldiers in Nakwara were injured, and the United Nations said another peacekeeper was injured by gunfire in south. In a joint statement by the Polish UN mission, the countries say that attacks on the United Nations interim force in Lebanon must stop immediately and should be adequately investigated. Meanwhile, the Israeli military has expanded its evacuation warnings to residents of more than 19 villages in southern Lebanon, urging them to move further north in the country. People living in these villages located within 30 kilometers of the Israeli border have been advised to relocate about 50 kilometers north. Hezbollah has said that its fighters have been involved in combat at point-blank range with Israeli troops in a village near the border with Israel. The Israeli forces have accused Hezbollah of using ambulances to transport weapons and fighters without providing any evidence. In Gaza, at least 29 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes in the central and northern Gaza Strip. Palestinian health officials estimate that 150 people have been killed there over the past week. Residents claim the Israeli military has encircled Jabalia and ordered them to leave via one corridor. Now, the Disaster Management Centre says 33,379 families in 12 districts were affected by thunder showers.
Well, in fact, the total number of persons victimized by the inclement weather has exceeded 130,000, and 3 deaths have also been reported in the disasters and have taken place due to floods. Strong winds are also resulting in the falling of trees as well, and President Anukumar Dissanayake has instructed the relevant sections to expedite the provision of relief to the displaced people, and also a sum of 50 million rupees has been set aside in this regard.
The centre further says nearly 6,955 persons belonging to 1,751 families have been relocated in 81 secured places. The number of houses partially destroyed was 238. Information pertaining to 3,362 affected families have been reported during the period from last midnight to 6 a.m. today. The districts most affected by the rain were Kalutara, Gampaha and Colombo. The Department of Irrigation says water levels in the Kalani, Ging, Nilwala and Kalu are receding. The disaster relief operations of the Navy are being continuously implemented in Colombo and Gampaha. Naval teams were directed to extend relief to the people affected in Kaduela, Birgama, Ihalagama and Jaila. Our correspondents say cooked food and dried rations are being distributed among the victims, and the affected people are being directed to safe locations throughout the operation. A portion of the Vele junction in Kaduela on the Colombo-Avisavela road was fully inundated. The Navy came to the aid of the distressed people by distributing them food by boats. Many low-lying areas in Hangwalla continue to remain underwater due to the overflowing of the Kalani River. The national television correspondents also say that the Panadura Anguruwathota main road is underwater in the Kehelhenawatto area. The Bulat Sinhala Kalutara main road also came underwater in the Gallakkala area. As a result, vehicular transport was subjected to disruptions. A flood threat has arisen in many areas due to the receipt of significant rainfall in the upper and middle catchment areas in the Kalani River Basin. The most affected areas include the low-lying areas of Kalani River in Sitawaka, Dompe, Homagama, Kaduela, Dehiyovita, Ruwanwalla, Begama, Kolonnawa, Colombo and Wattala Divisional Secretariat divisions. A group which was travelling in strong water tides in Kalanimulla Junction, Angoda, got caught in a current, resulting in the death of one person. The victim was a 34-year-old resident of Kalanimulla. Heavy rains have also displaced 4,656 persons in 1,122 families in the 6 divisional secretariat divisions in the Puttalam district. The most affected area was the North Thandiya Divisional Secretariat division, where 3,550 persons in 809 families became flood victims. Around 20 fishing craft anchored in the Ambalangoda Fisheries Harbour were severely damaged when they collided with each other due to strong winds and heavy rainfall. Our correspondents further say that several coastal belt areas in the northwestern region are being subjected to coastal erosion. The most affected beaches are Thoduawa and Irunavilla. A portion of the old road of the Baddegama-Udugama area has fallen into the Ging River with the increasing of the water level of the river. As a result, vehicular transport has been suspended in the section of the road in Baddegama to Nayapamula. The Department of Meteorology forecasts that further thunder showers in the western, Sabaragamu, northwestern, central and northern districts and also in the Gaul and Mathura districts are likely. The earth slip warning notices issued by the National Building Research Organization for several districts including Colombo, Gaul, Gampaha, Kalutara and Ratnapura continue to remain valid. Commander of the Sri Lanka Air Force, Air Marshal Udeni Rajapaksa says the SLAF remains alert to face any emergency disaster situation that could arise due to the rainy weather condition. 3 helicopters are being kept ready to engage in monitoring, extending relief to the people and also rescuing affected persons.
Now in other stories, the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology has granted authority to provincial education directors to take appropriate measures regarding the granting of holidays to school in areas affected by heavy rains and subjected to numerous disasters. Secretary to the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, Tilaka Jayasundara says that accordingly, all schools in the Colombo Educational Zone as well as schools in the Gampa and Kalania Educational Zones in the Gampa district will be kept closed tomorrow. She further says that a decision pertaining to holding of school sessions in the coming days will be taken following an evaluation of the inclement weather condition.
Another feather in the cap of national television, the users of Rupavahini News YouTube channel has exceeded 10 million viewers, and this number has been recorded within the last 28 days. Rupavahini News YouTube channel has been able to attract more than 5 million viewers monthly, a speciality being able to come among the grading of YouTube on several occasions. During the last presidential election, the number of users of the channel has gone up rapidly. On the response of viewers of Rupavahini News, the YouTube channel was able to receive the Silver Appreciation awarded by YouTube. During the last 28 days, the number of viewers of Rupavahini News YouTube channel has been 10,433,934 during the last 28 days. This is an increase of 5,400,000 before the last 28 days. Another feature has been that the number of viewers who viewed the channel exceeded 10 million were from the Colombo municipality area. Rupavahini News YouTube channel has been able to attract more viewers in the range of 25 to 35 year group. And also the national channel pays its tribute to all viewers who kept their trust on Rupavahini News YouTube channel, who responded wholeheartedly during a very short period. Well, moving on to another attractive piece of nature. Sri Lanka is an attractive destination for migratory birds, and they visit Sri Lanka during a special period of time.
This information is about those migratory birds who arrive well before the start of that period. Flamingo birds live in several countries including Arabia and Africa. They start migrating to Sri Lanka during the month of December and stay for more than 6 months till the month of May. Their favorite destinations are Manna, Jaffna and Boondala around lagoons of this country. Since several years, there is no report about the presence of flamingo birds at Boondala. It has been suspected that they are refraining from visiting Boondala due to a certain effect of their lifestyles in the lagoon region. During the last season, flamingos could be seen only in the lagoon areas of Manna and Jaffna. A flock of around 5,000 flamingos could be spotted around the Jaffna lagoon these days, even 2 months before the start of their migration in December. It can be pointed out that a large number of birds who did not leave the country in the month of May are staying back. These species of flamingos who walk in lagoons in a sowing mode are very fond of using algae available in the lagoons in their food. It has been discovered that their pink color increases due to these algae in their food. The spotting of flamingos is not easy as they are far away in the lagoons. Flamingos, who are considered very sensitive birds, can fly away even during the slightest noise or an incident. Hence, the watching of these birds has to be done with care. When we discuss about flamingos, a special mention has to be made about the lagoon system of Sri Lanka. It has been realized that special attention has to be paid than before to protect the lagoon system, which is the resting place of more than millions of these migratory birds. This lagoon system contributes heavily in maintaining the ecological balance of the country, and special attention has been required, the reason being any possibility of degradation in the environment in the area has been increased.
Magic and marvel of nature. More news on the national television as the World Trade Organization says the volume of the global merchandise trade is expected to increase by 2.7% this year. The WTO indicated these statistics in an update of the global trade outlook, and the statistics recently. And also they say that the prediction is slightly higher than the WTO's earlier forecast, and that's 2.6% made in April. According to the report, global merchandise trade experienced an upward trend in the first half of 2024, showing an year-on-year increase of 2.3%. This growth is expected to be followed by further moderate expansion throughout the remainder of the year, and that's into 2025. WTO Director General says economists are expecting a gradual recovery in global trade for 2024, but remain vigilant of the potential setbacks, particularly in potential escalation of regional conflicts like those in the Middle East. The report forecasts a deadline in exports in Europe by 1.4% in a decrease in imports by 2.3% in 2024. European exports have been negatively impacted by region's automotive and chemical sectors. Meanwhile, exports in Asia for this year are expected to grow by 7.4%, outpacing other regions, driven by manufacturing powerhouses such as China, Singapore and South Korea. The region's exports rebounded strongly in the first half of this year.
Secretary of the Department of Health, Dr. Palitha Mahipala, points out that an increase of 77% in the number of cancer patients in the world by the year 2050. During the last year itself, more than 33,000 new cancer patients have been reported. Cancer has become a prominent disease today among the global health challenges. During the year 2022, about 20 million became victims of the cancer worldwide, and out of that, more than 9.7 million lost their lives. Sri Lanka has become a country where the number of cancer patients has recorded an increase like other countries of the world. A number of more than 33,000 new cancer patients have been identified during the last month itself, and about 19,000 out of them have lost their lives. The danger of cancer stays even today in any age category. It has been identified that breast cancer, cervical cancer and cancer in lungs and intestines cause death in most cases. More than 1,990 males out of the entire population are suffering from mouth cancer. 505 out of 100,000 in population of country among women have breast cancer, which show an increase. Early detection of cancer and proper treatment has become essential. Dr. Palitha Mahipala, inaugurating the 21st annual study session of the Sri Lanka Cancer Specialty Medical College, has pointed out lifestyles like using tobacco, liquor and physical inactivity has become factors for more than 95% of cancer globally.
Sri Lanka, like many other nations, is facing the increasing burden of cancer, with over 33,000 new cases reported last year and an alarming 19,000 deaths due to this devastating disease. These figures serve as a strong reminder that cancer does not discriminate. It affects all, regardless of age, gender or background. In our country, cancers such as breast, cervical, oral, lung and colorectal are the leading contributors to morbidity and mortality, impacting families and communities in profound ways. The incidence of cancer is projected to rise, as predicted by the World Health Organization, particularly in low and middle income countries like ours. The world is expected to see a 77% increase in new cancer cases by 2050, with the greatest increase projected to occur in low and middle income countries. Prevention remains our most powerful tool in the fight against cancer. It is not only cost effective but also saves lives by reducing the incidence of cancers that may become incurable if diagnosed late. Globally, 5 to 10% of all cancers are attributed to genetic defects, and a significant portion of cancers, up to 95%, are attributed to environmental and lifestyle factors such as tobacco, alcohol, nutrition, and physical inactivity. By addressing these modifiable risk factors and promoting healthy living, we can prevent thousands of cancer cases each year.
Well, we have more local stories in brief. An SLRC correspondent says a fall in vegetable prices at the Bandaravilla Wholesale Trade Centre was witnessed today. He attributes the decline due to the shortfall in the arrival of traders and also due to a decline in the receipt of vegetable stocks. Public health inspectors in Talwakale have conducted a sudden inspection of all shops in the town. The objective was to provide a quality food item service for the consumers during the Deepawali festival, a program to educate candidates of political parties contesting the forthcoming general election. From the Kegaul district on the existing election law was held in Kegaul Town Hall yesterday. The event was attended by officials of the Kegaul Election Office and senior police officials. The villagers say storming of elephants into villages in the Mahawali D zone bordering Somawati National Wildlife Park has increased as a result of not properly maintaining the electric fences. And they further say that around 40 wild elephants from the area roam the villages, and also as a result, cultivated lands and houses in the areas that come under the purview of the Sri Lanka Mahawali Authority remain at a great risk. Well, that's news at home. Time for a short break, and we'll be back with international stories shortly.
On sports news tonight, 17 matches of the preliminary round in the 2020 Women's World Cup cricket tournament have been completed so far.
And accordingly, Group A is led by Australia and Group B is led by South Africa. South African women's team scored a 7-wicket victory in their T20 match against Bangladesh. The match was played in Dubai today. Batting first, Bangladesh scored 105 for the loss of 3 wickets in their allotted 20 overs. Shobana Mostri scored 28 runs and captain Nigar Sultana 32 not out. Chasing a total of 107 for victory, South Africa women's team reached the victory target in 17.2 overs. Tasmin British scored 42.
The first T20 cricket match between Sri Lanka and West Indies is now in progress at the Dambulla International Cricket Stadium. Batting first, Sri Lanka scored 179 for the loss of 7 wickets. Winning the toss, the West Indies decided to field first, and accordingly, batting first, Sri Lanka opened their innings with Pathum Nissanka and Kusal Mendis. Pathum Nissanka was the first to go after scoring 11 runs. Kusal Perera was out for 6 runs when the total was 27, as the second wicket falling a victim to Shamar Joseph. Charita Salanka top scored with 59 runs, while Kamindu Mendis made 51. For the West Indies, Shefford captured 2 wickets. West Indies is now chasing a target of 180 for victory.
කොත්තුමි තමයි.
Well, with that, we end the news. Do enjoy the rest of the programs together with Sharon Fernando. This is Clifford wishing you a good night.